What are the tax obligations and income tax treatment of the different classifications of educational institutions? In this video we will discuss the Revenue Memorandum Circular number 78-2022, which clarifies the income tax treatment of different educational institutions including their tax obligations. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel to get the latest update of the BIR issuances. So, let's begin. This circular shall cover the following educational institutions. First, the proprietary educational institution, which refers to any private school maintained and administered by private individuals or groups with an issued permit to operate from the Department of Education, or the Commission on Higher Education, or the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. These are domestic corporations as defined under Section 22B of the Tax Code and is organized in or existing under the laws of the Philippines, is subject to 10% preferential income tax rate. Moreover, all domestic non-stock, non-profit educational institution whose net income or assets accrue or inure to or benefit any member or specific person shall likewise be subject to the same 10% preferential income tax rate. Provided that from July 1, 2020 until June 30, 2023, the tax rate imposed shall be 1%. If the gross income exceeds 50% of the total gross income derived from all sources, the regular corporate income tax prescribed in Section 27A of the Tax Code shall be imposed. The other proprietary educational institutions that are not recognized as domestic corporations are taxable as follows. 1. The income of individual, trust, or estate that owns the proprietary educational institution as a sole proprietor shall be taxable under Sections 24 and 25 of the Tax Code. 2. The income of a corporation, as defined under Section 22B of the Tax Code that is not organized as domestic corporation but is classified as resident foreign corporation, is taxable under Section 28A of the Tax Code. The second type of educational institutions are the government educational institutions or GEI, which refers to a public university or college that is fully owned and subsidized by the government. A government educational institution may be created through a charter or a law passed by the Congress of the Philippines. If the GEI has a charter and it expressly provides that it is exempt from taxes, then such GEI is exempt from applicable taxes as may be provided in the aforesaid charter. However, if the GEI's charter does not expressly provide that it is exempt from tax, it is nonetheless exempt from income tax on the income received as such pursuant to Section 30I of the Tax Code. The third type of educational institutions are the non-stock and non-profit or the NSNP educational institutions. All revenues and assets of an NSNP educational institution used actually, directly and exclusively for educational purposes shall be exempt from taxes and duties, pursuant to Paragraph 3, Section 4, Article 14 of the 1987 Constitution, and as reiterated in Section 30 of the Tax Code. To avail of the exemption, the taxpayer must factually prove that its income or revenues are used actually, directly and exclusively for educational purposes, and that no net income or asset accrues to the benefit of any member of the corporation. For this purpose, the NSNP educational institution shall submit, together with the required annual income tax return, a detailed breakdown of the expenses defrayed from each nature of revenues or income or an accounting for those actually, directly and exclusively used for educational purposes for the exemption to set in. Contributions, gifts or donations to educational institution may be subject to the following treatment. 1. Deduction from gross income of donor. The contributions or gifts actually paid or made within the taxable year to domestic corporations organized and operated exclusively for educational purposes may be allowed as deduction from the gross income of the donor, in an amount not in excess of 10% in the case of an individual, and 5% in the case of a corporation, of the donor's taxable income, provided that no part of the net income or asset of the donee corporation inures to the benefit of any individual or private stockholder. Provided further, that if the conditions under Section 34H2C of the Tax Code are complied with, the contributions or gifts may be deductible in full. 2. Exemption from donor's tax. Certain gifts or donations in favor of an NSNP educational institution may be exempt from donor's tax, subject to the condition that not more than 30% of said gifts shall be used by the donee institution for administration purposes. 3. Withholding tax obligations as income payer. An educational institution shall be constituted as a withholding agent for the government if it acts as an employer and its employees receive compensation income subject to withholding tax under Section 79A of the Tax Code, as amended, or if it makes income payments to individuals or corporations subject to withholding tax pursuant to Section 57 of the Tax Code, as amended. 4. Withholding tax on income received. The NSNP educational institutions shall not be subject to any creditable or final withholding tax on their revenues and assets used actually, directly and exclusively for educational purposes as provided under the Constitution. For this purpose, existing NSNP educational institutions shall continue to present to withholding agents their duly issued certificate of income tax exemption or exemption rulings, and Securities and Exchange Commission registration. Newly organized NSNP educational institutions must secure their certificate of tax exemption within 3 months from the issuance of their certificate of registration with the SEC. The income payments to proprietary educational institutions, including NSNP educational institutions, which are subject to preferential income tax under Section 27B, are subject to creditable and final withholding taxes. The creditable withholding tax on the income payments to these institutions should not be more than the statutory income tax rate imposed on proprietary educational institutions under Section 27B of the Tax Code. The income payments to educational institutions organized as sole proprietorships under Section 24A2A or Section 24A2B are also subject to creditable and final withholding taxes. All educational institutions are required to comply with the following. Number 1. Register with the BIR, both primary and secondary. And secure authority to print receipts or invoices, register books of accounts and update registration information. Number 2. Issue receipts or invoices. Number 3. File tax returns. And number 4. Secure certificate of income tax exemption. That ends our discussion in this video. To get the full text of Revenue Memorandum Circular Number 78-2022, you may scan the QR code in your screen, or you may log on to www.bir.gov.ph. Don't forget to click the notification bell for more updates. Thank you for watching.